And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And first and foremost, we're going to be talking about Lawless today, but I want to mention a little bit of a tribute to Tony Scott.
Very talented filmmaker.
Yes, one of my favorite directors of all time, Tony Scott. He really defined my childhood of the movies he made.
Top Gun being your favorite of his,
Well,
right?
Top Gun was when I was a kid, Top Gun was like everything. I mean, we wanted to be fighter gun pilots. We had, we had the VHS copy. We had the cassette tape.
We had that too,
Yeah, we
yeah.
listened to music so much, me and my buddy Kyle. I mean, we played all kinds of video games, even if they weren't like actual Top Gun ones, but just like anything that had airplanes or aircrafts. Really, that movie made you want
So
that.
you could pretend to be Maverick more or less in that game.
Pretty much. I mean, everything was, yeah, we pretend even played outside like as kids. Top Gun was such a big thing. And this is, probably like 1993. It's not 1986. It's a little bit later once the movie's been out on VHS. But that movie really defined my childhood. When I think of my childhood, there's three movies I think of, and it's Top Gun, um, Predator. It's like the strangest movies for like a kid, and Spaceballs.
I really thought you were going to say Point Break for a second.
No, Point Break actually came a little bit later, like mid-kid range up. But I'm thinking about like when I was like really young. Those three movies I remember watching so many times. It sounds like a strange combo, but that was a definitive moment of my childhood.
Tony Scott, for those of you who don't know, he's one of those directors, like Top Gun is probably his most well-known movie, but he's one of those guys where even if you don't know a whole lot about movies, you're like, really? He made that? And he made that? Like one of my favorite movies, probably my favorite Tony Scott movie. I really like Top Gun. My favorite is A True Romance.
Oh, well,
I
True
think
Romance. That's probably my second, actually my second or third favorite. That's one of my favorites. And I like because he collaborates with Quentin Tarantino, who wrote the screenplay, real well. Unlike,
'Cause
Oliver Stone kind of did his own thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that movie too. But like this one, they kind of work together, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, because the thing about that is, don't get me wrong, Quentin Tarantino is my favorite director, but sometimes he's too much in love with his own shit to know when to cut it off and when just to get to the point. And I think that if you were to include the movies, not just movies Quentin Tarantino directed, but movies he just plain wrote, I think True Romance would be number 3, right? But right after Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill.
No, yeah, that True Romance is a fantastic one. And the cool thing about it is like you get a Quentin Tarantino screenplay, so you get all the good dialogue and all the cool characters,
And
but
Tony
then,
Scott action.
yeah, and Tony's got action, which is like totally the way you want it.
Yeah, he's a badass. He really knew how to direct an action film. That's one thing.
No,
for
he
sure.
was always great at action movies. He also took over at Beverly Hills Cop. He did the second one. The first one's still one of those like childhood favorites, but the second one's also really good too. And he kind of upped the action a bit because I think Martin Brest did the first one, and I don't think he was nearly as much of an action director because it's kind of an action comedy, so the action's still there. But Tony Scott really amped up the action in that one. He did a lot of other really good movies.
When you think about Tony Scott's movies, there's really no such thing. I mean, I haven't seen all of his movies. I've seen a lot of his movies. There's really no such thing as a bad Tony Scott movie. They're all at least decent. They're all at least good. There's ones that are just amazing, like Top Gun, A True Romance.
Days of Thunder, I really liked a lot of Tom Cruise. I know people kind of gave that movie crap at the time, but that was a great movie. Then he also did Spy Game.
I loved Man on Fire. Man on Fire.
Oh yeah, Man on Fire. He did all the Denzel Washington movies. That's where he's like almost like really known for, like in the last 15 years, I guess you could say. Is he did I think he did 5 movies with Denzel.
He did Man on Fire, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable, yeah. I mean, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. That was a remake. I haven't seen the original, but the remake was pretty good, I thought.
What other ones did he do with him? Well,
his first movie was a vampire movie or something.
Yeah,
right?
it had David Bowie in it called The Hunger. That one also got kind of crap by like the critics, but it's kind of a cool movie. Actually, my other favorite movie of his is Domino, though, and I know you haven't seen that one yet. But
That's the one with Keira Knightley's in it.
Yeah, Keira Knightley's in it. Mickey Rourke's in it, and it's based off a true story of pretty much a rich girl, daughter of kind of a movie star, because just decides she doesn't want any of that stuff, so she leaves it all to go be a bounty hunter in Los Angeles.
That sounds badass as fuck. I gotta borrow that
from
from you.
It literally is as badass as fuck. That movie blew my mind. I literally bought the movie. I looked at the cover and I was like, holy fuck, that looks awesome. Just like Keira Knightley with a gun slung over her shoulder, and there's like Mickey Rourke and a couple other guys standing in the background. And this happens to me a lot, actually, when I buy movies. You look at a movie cover and you're like, that looks fucking badass. Then you flip over to see who directs it, and it's Tony Scott. I bought so many movies just because, like, that really was, like, the selling point. Like, the movie looked cool. I flipped it over, saw that it was Tony Scott, and I was like, oh, I'm buying it now. I think another movie that did that too was Revenge with Kevin Costner.
Revenge of Kevin Costner.
No, not Revenge of Kevin Costner. Revenge with Kevin Costner in it. Revenge.
I'll be honest. No, like his earlier, there's like that middle point where I kind of didn't see a lot of his movies. I know some of his earlier stuff and his later stuff, which he collaborated with Denzel Washington a lot of. But it's that middle ground is where my knowledge of him is a little low.
We also did The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis. You remember that one?
I haven't seen that one in a long
Remember,
time.
I watched the movie when I was a kid, and like when you're a kid, like you really take like titles to like what they mean. So you're like The Last Boy Scout. It's got to be about Boy Scouts, right? It's like completely nothing
Not
about
really.
that. No. He also did a lot of TV shows, at least produced a lot of TV shows. I remember.
He started off as didn't he start off as doing commercials?
Yeah, him and
like his brother.
Him and his brother did commercial. His brother did commercial, I think, first, and Tony went to school for art, like in painting, and realized, well, painting doesn't get you that far. So he decided to join up with his brother, and they literally did like thousands of commercials before they even made a movie. So that's a grand way of learning. And they still made commercials throughout time. Like after each movie he made, I think same with Ridley too. They would stop and actually make a couple commercials, and then go back to making a movie again.
No disrespect to Tony, but it goes without saying, this isn't amounting their skill, but Ridley is the bigger director. He's the more well-known director. He also seems like the more respected director. But at the same time, though, Tony never tried to follow in his footsteps. He always did his own thing. He always did what he wanted to do, and that's what was so cool about him. Because it's almost kind of like, oh, you're Ridley Scott's brother. It's like, no, he's Tony Scott. He had his own identity, his own art style. He was great.
Well, the cool thing about Tony Scott too is that he actually pretty much released a movie just about every single year, while Ridley Scott mostly would take about 3 years. You know? Like so he was always he could always release a movie, and it would always be a good movie. That was the cool thing, and that's one thing I always just feel. I feel the same thing with musicians. I don't care if you're a director or all that stuff. I just think it's really strange to go a couple of years. I mean, I could see if you took like one like hiatus, but to literally go a couple of years between projects always just seems like it almost feels unexcusable in my opinion.
As I said, like Quentin Tarantino is my favorite director with that 7-year period between Jackie Brown
like
and Kill Bill.
Like, it's like I can think of so many directors that can actually sit down and make at least one movie a year, and like, come on, I mean, and same with a band too. It's like it's unexcusable to be a band and not release a CD every single year. I mean, seriously, especially this day and age when you can literally make an album in like 2 weeks. But Tony Scott, he always delivered.
He always made them good too.
He always did, and he'll always be one.
Going off the ones I saw, but I'm assuming they're good.
Yeah, well, once you see more, you'll realize. I've never seen every Tony Scott movie I've ever seen. Always liked.
Every one I've seen, I like too. These are all the ones I've seen. I saw Last Boy Scout a long time ago. We own Top Gun. I own A True Romance. Man on Fire. Deja Vu was a good movie. I enjoyed Deja Vu with Denzel Washington. I did not see Unstoppable. It was on my list. I just never got around to watching it. I plan on it. And Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. Really good movie.
So many good movies.
I'm sure there's probably one or two in there that I missed. That I'll be like, because he's one of those people. When you look him up, you're like, really? He did that movie? I had no idea.
No, yeah, it happens a lot. He's one of those kind of guys. Especially too, you also see him. They produce a lot of stuff too. And,
well, he produced a lot of like the CSI TV shows and all that.
But even just movies in general, you just know it's like, oh, his name's all over the place,
Yeah, but well, Scott Free, I think it's owned by both him and his brother, right? Yeah.
And I think that production one, I think that might be just for their movies. I don't think that happens for anything other than their own movies. I don't know if anybody else works underneath the Scott Free projection, but yeah. But no, Tony Scott, amazing director. Check his movies out.
He will be sadly missed. Our hearts and best wishes go out to his family and his brother.
Now we will go into today we went and saw Lawless.
Yes, we did.
Which was a pretty cool movie. It was about in like the late 1920s, the early 1930s, Prohibition down in the South.
Time really fucking sucked. It sucked to live back in those days.
I always thought that the 1930s would have been the ideal time to live, actually.
Watching this movie, well, maybe just in this area, this movie just like, these guys, because they're treating like of course the law is treating them like they're villains, like they're outlaws. But really, it's like, no, they're providing a service. What the fuck else do they got to do up in these woods?
Yeah, I know, really. That kind of.
It was almost kind of depressing. Like, yeah, man, drink all the moonshine you want. This fucking life sucks in this time up here, at least.
Yeah, well, the movie takes place. It's one of those movies that takes place in Virginia, I think it was. Yeah, but the movie was shot in Georgia. Of course, so everybody gets all excited. Oh boy, they're making a movie about our.
Well, it's kind of like because Modesto isn't that far away from us. So like, Modesto, that's where American Graffiti takes place. It was filmed in Los Angeles. What the fuck?
No, it was shot in Marin.
Was it? I thought it was Los Angeles.
It says at the end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
That's what I noticed. And I was bummed out when I heard that. I was like, Marin, fuck Marin. That's not Modesto. There's a fucking George Lucas statue of Modesto. You know what I mean? What the hell is that doing there if that's not
I
about?
took my picture with that statue. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's not technically like George Lucas.
Well, it's a scene from American
Yes.
Graffiti.
I always call it the George Lucas statue, but you know.
It's like that park bench scene.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, back to Lawless though.
The Lawless is pretty, and it has Shia LaBeouf in it, and really, that's one of those actors mostly I will not see a movie if he's in it, but he proved himself in Wall Street too. Now he wasn't like the greatest actor, but he kind of did the thing where I was just like, at that point, I was all, well, he's gotten better. I can kind of accept him. I was kind of bummed. I was like, I went to go see Wall Street 2, not because he was in it. I went to go see it because it was an Oliver Stone movie, and Michael Douglas is in it, and I knew that Charlie Sheen would be in it, even if he was only in it for 5 minutes. You know, so that's why I went to see it.
You're one of the few people still defending the Sheen right there.
Oh, I'll defend the Sheen the entire time. He's my hero. But no, and
careful where you say that one. But yeah.
Hey, I know a lot of people that love the Sheen. They will defend.
I don't hate the Sheen, but I don't really. Go ahead. All right. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay, but that's not part of the story though. I just wish the Sheen had a bigger part in Wall Street too.
He's now a noun.
I know. Well, yeah, but come on, the Sheen. He was the main character of the first one. Why is he only get less than a 5-minute part in the second one?
I guess it happens when you threaten to kill hookers and all that.
No, well, that part was before that.
Oh, it was?
When Wall Street 2 came
out.
That was because he was doing 2.5 Men.
Oh, all right. Well, LaBeouf and all that.
So Shia LaBeouf's in it, and he actually doesn't do too bad of a job. He does pretty good. He is the fucking moron of the entire movie, and he makes the stupidest fucking mistakes throughout. I mean, from start to finish, he's making the stupidest fucking mistakes. But you know, you kind of expect that from him, even though I know it's based on a true story.
Here's the thing about LaBeouf. I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he's a good actor. It's just for a while he would just pick the shittiest roles, and he would always just be like the stuttering kid who's always trying to fit in, but somehow he's very likable, I guess. And he's supposed to be relatable, but he's not really that relatable. And oh fuck, there's a giant robot over there, you know. So in this movie, he actually, as time goes on, he proves himself a little bit more. But he was kind of the dumbass of the group for a while. But who really steals the show in this movie is Tom Hardy.
No, Tom Hardy is really badass.
He's badass as fuck. He's my favorite. He's hands down my favorite character in the movie. He has really one expression for everything. It's that's what it is. He could be. There's a scene like the greatest thing in the world could be happening to him. He just go. He could get unloaded, have 6 shots in him, and he'd go. Same fucking thing, and he's so badass. It's
funny because in that movie, because that what made me laugh a lot is that a lot of characters talked in grunts. They didn't really actually use actual words. It was just like. I mean, it wasn't even just Tom Hardy. It was other characters that did that too.
Well, Hardy's one of those characters. You look at him, and he looks like kind of like the brainless oaf, but he was the smart one of the group. And he didn't really use very sophisticated words. Yet he was the smartest one. He was the most badass guy. There's a scene in the movie where this is actually at the moment this is a bit of a downer for me. But then what happens? Oh, that's fucking awesome. What happens is there's a scene where he gets his throat slit by the 30-minute point of the movie. And I'm like, what the fuck? There goes my favorite character. 30 minutes in, that guy was badass. Why the fuck are they killing him off? He fucking survives. He gets his throat slit in the snow, and he fucking survives. They damn near cut his head off. He survives. Oh my god, that is awesome. Then you think, is he just going to be in a hospital bed? No, he's back in the movie. And then later, near the end of the movie, they have this big shootout scene. He gets shot 6 or 7 times.
Fucking survives.
And you're like, fuck, there you go. Oh my god, he's still alive. What the? That's fucking awesome.
And the movie too.
Yeah. So Tom Hardy, my hat goes off to him because he could really. I mean, I know we gave him a little bit of shit for his voice in Batman, but that guy can act, and plus he could just convey so much, just saying and doing so little in this movie.
Well, the thing about Tom is he looks really young in this movie. I guess because all the movies I've ever seen, he looks really old. In Bronson, he looks older. And in Batman, well, I mean, he's got the mask on, but he looks older. This movie actually made him look younger. At first, I had to take a double take and go, oh, that is Tom Hardy. But he doesn't look that I always expect him to be a little bit older looking, but he looks like he's only 30, early 30s, you know.
Plus, he's just badass as fuck. There's a scene actually, the movie it's not jam packed with violence. It's first and foremost a drama, but there's a scene where he's fighting a couple guys because they're running a moonshine business through their little restaurant they own. And
isn't that a bar?
Well, they're serving food and all that. Maybe it was a bar. I thought it was I think it was a little general store type all around kind of thing.
I just thought it was a bar.
They had a gas station out front.
I know they had a gas station. But...
Well, whatever it was. There's a scene where some guys are stirring up some shit. So what he does is he puts on a pair of brass knuckles, starts beating the fuck out of him. One of them he punches, and the guy bites his own tongue off, and you see something slide down his lip. Oh fuck, that was pretty
Well, it
gnarly.
is one of those movies when violence happens, it really happens, and it's great.
They cut a guy's balls off at one point in the movie.
Yeah, I've seen that before and stuff, but like,
Yeah, but still, I wasn't expecting it like that because they say now you got some balls, and they toss one to Shia LaBeouf.
they just totally go to murder those guys. That movie really jumps around though, like it's kind of movie because sometimes it's a drama, sometimes it has a little bit of comedy into it, sometimes it's a little bit lighthearted, and then sometimes it gets really fucking dark.
Well, I noticed the lighthearted would always like the dark would always happen right after the most lighthearted scene.
Yeah, it's like I noticed it jumps around a bunch. So like,
It plays with your emotions, but that's kind of cool though.
no, I like that. There's nothing wrong with that. I like when movies are kind of multiple packages.
Because right at the part when he gets his throat slit, I'm like, all right, everything's fine. And like, it's holding on him for a while. Please don't let this happen. It's fuck. Like, oh, he's alive though. It's okay.
Yeah.
Then there's somebody that wasn't. I really wish I wrote down the actor's name, but there's the third brother who they did not advertise at all. The trailer really made it look like it was still about Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy when it's primarily
well, he still
about.
even didn't get that much screen time too.
Mhm.
I mean, he's in it, but like he's kind of like the third brother that doesn't get as much screen time. I don't know how else to describe him.
Where Shia LaBeouf is, because generally out of these three brothers that run this business, Tom Hardy, Shia LaBeouf is the driver. He's kind of just there. He's more there because he's brothers with these guys.
He's kind of the pussy of the group. They explained
Yeah.
that very early because he can't kill a pig.
Yeah, and then the second brother, who's not Tom Hardy, he's generally just the brainless oaf, but he's a badass. Not so much a badass, but he's just more of a brawler.
Well, it's kind of funny because like there's a one part where like the brothers are getting threatened and he just runs out as hammered as can be and just starts like
kicking
beating
the
up police
fuck out of
officers that have guns. Mind
I
you.
still liked that character, but yeah, but he wasn't.
No,
brainless. Then Tom Hardy, who's just everything that's awesome in this movie.
But he
But
actually,
like just I want to jump back on Tom Hardy just for a second. Just like the girl in the movie, which I really wish I looked up her name. I'm so unprepared for this, but that girl is fucking gorgeous. There's a scene where she's full on naked, walks up to Tom Hardy, and he's just this.
what do you want? It's just like he's giving a look like I don't want to share my bed, but he doesn't have to say
it's
it.
kind of. It's like if you want to fuck, fine, but can you go back to your own bed? I kind of like my space here.
My gun has its own place on the bed.
Yeah, his gun literally did have a place on the bed next to it, just in case.
You know what actually was a real like I thought this was like such a badass in the movie. That was Guy Pearce, and I love Guy Pearce. He's a guy. And whenever I see him in a movie, he fucking steals the show, and he's such a good actor. And I always wish he almost got more credit. Like, he's not in as much stuff as you would think. He's not in as like I almost feel like his bigger roles. But he's such a good
They
actor.
try to hide him in Prometheus underneath all that makeup.
Well, yeah, they love to hide him in everything. It seems like and he was amazing in Memento. But him in this movie was so cool. He was just like this guy who was almost reminded me of like a gay rapist.
He was so creepy in this movie too.
Yeah, I mean, he had these gloves. He always dressed really fashionably. He wore like cologne.
Yeah.
Or yeah, back then.
And he always had his hair slicked back. Well, I'll be honest.
And it was dyed black.
Here's the thing about this character.
You look at him at first, and he's just like
he's so slimy and so like he's just like a very rich kind of yuppie prick, but he's so twisted and evil. I don't know if that's what the real guy was like, but it's probably a composite character or something like that. I bet.
Yeah.
But I really should have probably we should have probably like looked this up and did a compare and contrast thing between here and when we saw the movie. But whatever. But anyway, moving on to Guy Pearce. He's such like a slimy prick in the film. He's so easy to hate. For that reason, you can't help but kind of like him. When he first encounters Shia LaBeouf in the movie, this is actually one of the funniest scenes I've seen. Like, there's a scene where he starts kicking the shit out of Shia LaBeouf, and you keep on thinking it's about to end. You're just like, all right, he's gonna punch him, kick him on the ground, and walk away.
No, he kicks him down the stairs.
Kicks him down the stairs, kicks him out into the yard, starts literally just kicking, just to the point where Shia LaBeouf's mouth is swollen.
He grabs him by the head and just starts wailing on him in the face.
There's a part where they're in the scene when Shia LaBeouf's like, please, please, and he grabs his pant ankles. And I think if they just let that scene go on like 5 more seconds, like, I'll suck your dick! Stop punching me!
But instead, he just turns around and kicks him right in the face. And I remember,
I was almost like, have to expect like Shia LaBeouf to yell, Bumblebee! A fucking Camaro comes out of nowhere.
Well, I remember we were laughing so hard at that part, but nobody in the fucking theater was laughing. Like, it was like fucking dead silent. Everybody was like, oh, Shia LaBeouf's getting beat up. And we, like, to me, I just, like, the way I pictured it, I just thought it was like Guy Pearce putting Shia LaBeouf in his place in the acting world. Like I could not. Like I just loved watching him just like romp on him.
Well, that whole scene was just kind of. It was almost more of kind of like, all right, guy, that's a cut. Boom, boom, he's still going at it. Guys, I just let it roll. Please, because he was really good.
Well, it's supposed to be like it's supposed to be like the tragic scene in the movie, but like to me it
We
was just
were
fucking
laughing.
hilarious.
If it was somebody else.
I
but
think if it wasn't Shia LaBeouf, it might not, but it'd still be funny, but not nearly as funny.
Well, I don't hate Shia LaBeouf.
I'm just not a big fan of him. He never like he is the main reason that Indiana Jones 4 sucked. It has nothing to do with any of that other stuff in the movie. All that other stuff is like that movie could be like at least a 3 and up if Shia LaBeouf just was not in it. He ruined it. He ruined Marlon Brando's reputation in it. He did all kinds of shit for that movie. You know, that movie, that was Shia LaBeouf that ruined it. I don't care what anybody else says. We all know it narrows down to Shia LaBeouf. He fucking messed it up.
I'm
no
not going to argue there.
ants, no flying, refrigerator. It was Shia LaBeouf.
Well, even like, I'm just going to jump on that real quick. The flying refrigerator even bother me just because, like, if anybody can survive a nuclear blast, it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, see, that doesn't bother me. It's Harrison Ford. He can survive anything.
But no, back on Lawless, though, like, as the movie goes on, Shia LaBeouf starts to, he's still a little dumb, but he starts to grow a pair, starts to be a little bit more...
His character evolves, but he still does stupid shit throughout the movie. Like, his character evolves, but he's bound to do something fucking stupid each time.
Mhm.
That you're just looking at like, God... He's the main reason why all the bad shit happens in the movies because of him.
Mm-hmm. Which someone who did a good job, but whose character really wasn't needed when you think about it. Gary Oldman.
Well, his character was really cool, but
He was
really only
cool.
in it like 3 scenes.
Yeah, because the thing is, they had a heavy advertising. I bet they were going like, Dark Knight's coming out, so advertise Gary Oldman like no other. But I mean, he did a good job in that movie. But it was more almost kind of like guest starring Gary Oldman.
Well, I think that's really what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I thought he was gonna have. I thought even his character, I just thought was gonna have a bigger part.
Because his character was cool.
He's really only in like, I mean, he has that one scene in the middle or in the very beginning, which is really badass, where he comes out of a car and just starts unloading on somebody else's car, kills them, and then leaves.
He just looks at Shia LaBeouf and winks.
Yeah, and that's how you introduce him, and it's like that's badass. And then he's in the movie for about the middle, and then you never see him again.
I think you see him once in a montage, and then that's it.
Maybe, but that's like it. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you really don't see him towards the end, though.
The guy, though, because there's a part when they were doing a deal with him, and he doesn't know. Gary Oldman isn't aware that Shia LaBeouf is brothers with Tom Hardy, and Tom Hardy's the one with all the respect. There's a scene where they're almost about to kill him. They push Shia LaBeouf and his sidekick, who's a kid named Cricket, into a
Who's crippled.
Who's crippled. He helps make the moonshine. He helps.
He's kind of the brains of the operation when it really gets down to it, because he's good
But
at like the automotive and the
automotive.
technology and all.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the technical guy. He's a scientist.
And
he's Baird.
Yeah, I didn't think of Barrett if he was a scrawny cripple.
Yeah, if he's a scrawny crippled person. Yeah.
And they chuck him into this shallow grave, and they're about to shoot him, and then like Shia LaBeouf's like, no, I'm Tom Hardy's brother. So doesn't yell Tom Hardy, but you get the point. Anyway, so we go on from there, and there's the guy who's about to shoot him. The guy who's like running that group, didn't he look like an evil 1930s John Waters?
Yeah, and it was funny. But the part I think is hilarious is once they realized they made a mistake way later on is that Gary Oldman just
I love this part.
lays him out right in the face
With a shovel.
Yeah, with the shovel, just swings it as hard as possible. It's just like, and that was another part where we were just busting up laughing.
No one else was.
Well, I felt there was one guy who like almost felt like he wanted to crackle just to join in. Like he thought that maybe everybody was gonna laugh, and then he was like, never mind.
Guy behind us,
He
yeah.
didn't want to be left out. No, it wasn't the person behind us. Well, I guess he weren't behind us because everybody was behind us. But
Oh, it's all good, whatever. But no, I was just thinking, there's John Waters if he was an evil 1930s gangster.
I love later there's a scene where it shows him standing next to Gary Oldman
Which
again.
I was surprised
and
he
his
wasn't
face
dead.
is all like red
Swollen,
and messed up.
yeah.
It's just like, oh, he still has his job. Back in the day, if you got hit in the face of a shovel by your boss, you kept working for it.
Where else are you gonna go?
1930s. Get a
Great
job.
Depression.
Oh
Yeah.
wait, you can't.
I thought actually there's a scene where we mentioned this briefly. There's a scene where the two guys that slit Tom Hardy's throat, they actually get even with them. And Shia LaBeouf is just driving down the road, and he sees this naked chick running down the road. He's like, "What the fuck?" And he pulls into a motel, and he goes over there, and he just opens the door. You just see blood all over the walls, and you see Tom Hardy and the other brother just stand in the room. You see
Like
the two
what?
guys tied up like, "You don't want to be in here. Here, this way you have some balls," and chucks him just a sack
Just
of
like
balls.
a ball. One part is like I saw,
And then they get because Guy Pearce earlier beat the fuck out of Shia LaBeouf. This is past that part, and he just I think it's funny when he leaves it like a little nice pink gift wrap package in front of his motel room.
yeah, he gives it to Guy Pearce.
Yeah,
Well, I still like going back to that naked woman running. What the fuck was that all about, though? I still kind of confused what
I
happened there.
think that like they're either a couple of like sleaze bags doing a hooker that were like in a motel room.
Oh, maybe that was it then. Because I was just wondering, because like I was thinking like
There's only one hooker because it's the Great Depression. It's cheap,
it's cheap, and those guys also like to share each other too.
Yeah. But then what else? Like going back on Guy Pearce, they did such a good job of just making him
so cool in that movie, though. I mean, like
he
was
was
almost like
he
was a total bad guy, but like his acting was fantastic, and you waited just to see what his character was going to do next.
because he was just so sadistic and sick in every way. I mean, he was very prissy and proper, but just like a total racist, cocksucking douchebag. But you couldn't help but in some way just kind of like not so much enjoying him, but just his acting. Like, wow, I kind of forgot I was watching Guy Pearce here for a second. There's a scene.
Well, Guy Pearce is always badass. When Guy Pearce is on the screen,
he's always good, but but he's always a screen stealer whenever he's there. There's the scene though when right before he gets to the sack of like the jar of balls and a nice little pink gift wrapping. There's just the little things they do to get across how like sick his character is. You see like this young black prostitute sitting.
I thought she had gray hair.
Did she? She looked kind of younger. I don't know, maybe not. But anyway, but
it's the 1930s. They're stressed.
Yeah. She was sitting on the bed and she looked like she was very, like ashamed. She was just crying, and yet just these little things. He has newspaper laid out, sitting on the bed, and just the part of the bed she's sitting on. There's newspaper there. Like he doesn't want her sitting on it, you know.
And he's sitting there like fixing his gloves. Like it pans over to the right, and he's sitting there like fixing his gloves and making sure he's proper.
Talking about these hicks in these town, I can't stand them, and yada yada.
Well, he's always wearing these gloves, like he's like almost doesn't want to get like
dirty
mountain germs on him.
Yeah. Well, he's always grossed out whenever somebody touches him. He always like wipe it off or something. Yeah.
He always says like handkerchiefs. He's always wearing gloves.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a real interesting character though. Like that part I actually really think is just like him and Tom Hardy just really make the movie like no other.
Those probably are the two best parts of the film. Gary Oldman, if he was in it more, I'd say him. But what he's in for is pretty cool.
What he's in for is cool, but yeah, it's a small Gary Oldman role. That's definitely.
And it's not that Shia LaBeouf does a bad job of acting. It's just his character.
No, he doesn't do a bad job. His character's
dumbass.
kind of a moron. I mean, Shia LaBeouf's really progressed in life as acting. Like he didn't bother me in this movie. It didn't make me want to like go up there and try to murder him on the screen and go, wait a second, we're not at a play, we're at a movie house.
Why is that guy like just like pounding the front row screen?
No, like he progressed, and I always kind of feel that a lot of actors that are like kind of like they start out kind of shitty, they mostly always will improve. I mean, look at Leonardo DiCaprio. Look how far he's got. He's an amazing actor nowadays.
Well, I wouldn't even say that he was a bad actor.
Well, he wasn't like a bad actor. I'm just saying like
bad movies. That was his thing.
I mean, like a lot of those characters that you look at before, and they're in just kind of like shitty roles and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they're just really, or more like themselves are just really obnoxious, and you just really don't like them. They learn how to act at some point, and they mostly turn it around. You know, I always even Channing Tatum. I'm actually kind of getting, at first he used to be just like that. I mean, that douchebag actor, just like, yeah, somebody told me I should act, and I was like, okay, yes.
I was in footballs, and why not? You know. Yeah, no, well, Channing Tatum actually gave me some respect recently because 21 Jump Street, he was actually pretty funny in that. But no, back on this one, Shia LaBeouf, like, going back to him, like, he wasn't even, like, even if you look back in movies like Transformers, it wasn't so much his bad acting, just the way he was written, really. Just these characters he would always choose to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's it, but still, just the movies he was in. It was mainly when I think about, like, what I really don't like Shia LaBeouf, it's really just Indiana Jones 4. That's really, like, the one. I mean, like.
That's hitting it home. That's
like Transformers, he was, like, the worst part of that, too. He's the main reason I never even went to even see 2 or 3. You know, that he ruined it enough that I didn't want to see
I'll be honest, it's kind of a guilty pleasure. I like 1 and 2. They're not, like, by any means, like, amazing pieces of art. They're kind of like junk food. You enjoy it while you have it, then you feel a little dirty after you watched it. But number 3 was just, there's no excuse for that. It was dog shit, number 3.
I don't know. I just remember that just shattering my image of my great childhood memories of Transformers.
I was never a diehard Transformers fan, so I was able to, like, whatever, I'll just take it at face value. But number 3, though, there's no defense for number 3. But back to the other movie.
But what do you think about some of the trailers we saw?
Trailers, there's always one. The trailers, let's see here.
There was a longer version of Looper.
Looper, which I still want to see Looper.
That long trailer is even. I mean, yeah, that's a movie I still want to see too. But that was a longer version. It had more crap in it.
It did, yeah. Though, I guess we never really talked about Looper. I'm interested in seeing that movie. I've never seen Brick. I always wanted to see Brick. It's from the
Brick's amazing.
Same director.
Yeah, Ryan Johnson.
I saw Brothers Bloom, and that was a movie when it first started. I'm like, I'm gonna like this because it was kind of a silly camp kind of crime caper. I always kind of like those con men movies, but this one was more of like it wasn't sure if it wanted to be super serious or extremely camp, and it was just very. It was unsure what it wanted to be, and plus it was a romantic comedy. It was called The Brothers Bloom. It wasn't so much about the brothers. It was just about
Rachel.
Rachel Wise or
Yeah,
Wees?
Wise.
Wise, yeah, and and Adrian Brody. So just kind of like, well, whatever, you know.
Well, I literally bought that movie just because I flipped that movie around and I saw it was Ryan Johnson. I'm like, well, fuck, I'll buy that movie then. I love Brick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got that one. I was like, yeah.
It wasn't horrible. I mean,
it's not horrible.
The Japanese chick in that movie is the best part of it.
Well, yeah, the Japanese. There's cool stuff about that movie, but it was one of those movies like you watch it once and you call it a day.
Yeah, just that movie seemed kind of like uneven, really, because one part of it was trying to be super serious, one part of it was just trying. It kind of came out of nowhere, and it didn't really play with your emotions. It more of just was like, oh, whatever, it felt kind of half-assed.
But Brick was amazing. That movie was recommended to me by a couple people before I even found it, and then I finally found
Brick.
it.
I still gotta borrow
and
that.
it was about I'll just show it to you at one point. And that was just about a bunch of different kind of like high school kids, and they almost have like these very like characterists like about them. Each person's really different. And it's a very complicated story. It's almost impossible to kind of explain.
Like a Guy Ritchie kind of movie.
It's sort of like a Guy Ritchie movie in a sense, like just like a lot of characters. But the first time I watched the movie, it was like this movie's fucking awesome. But I'm still kind of confused at what happened. I had to go back and like watch it again before you could really get it down. But I recommend it really highly. But you gotta kind of watch it twice because there's just too much information at once. Not like it's like, yeah, you just need to see it twice.
Looper
looks pretty badass.
Yeah, that one looks pretty good. The one thing is, though, I don't know how Joseph Gordon-Levitt sees Bruce Willis. Like, that's me in the future.
You know, by about the fifth time that I've seen this trailer, I kind of noticed. I mean, like, yeah, because I think the main thing that why, because when you think of young Bruce Willis, you just go back to like the 1980s and you look at that, you're like, well, he fucking doesn't look like that at all. But I will say, like, I was looking at Joseph Gordon-Levitt this time, the whole time in the trailer, and they really kind of try to get him like to make the kind of the facial. You know, motions that Bruce Willis does.
I did see the pouty John McClane face on there.
Yeah, I was noticing that he was trying hard to be Bruce Willis.
I guess that's the thing you should do. Make it work the other way
around. I just don't know why he
has
black hair, because like Bruce Willis always had like blonde hair, so it's like kind
of. Well, plus there's like a weird. They show it for a quick flash, like a flashback of him, and like they show Bruce Willis with this weird black ratty wig.
Yeah, like it's
like a comb over. It just looks so weird, but yeah. I'm just like, I don't like Bruce Willis with hair. Go back to being bald, you know?
Well, I don't mind Bruce Willis with hair in the 80s, but...
Now it's just kind of weird and creepy looking, but go back to, yeah.
I don't want that some strange, creepy black.
We once again got, Man with the Iron Fist, which still looks
trailer,
equally as awesome.
Same equally as cool. That trailer, like, I've seen it about like 6 or 7 times.
It's got to be coming out soon. It just keeps on saying, like, coming soon. Like, when soon? I really got to look that up.
It's like, they don't even give you, like, an extended trailer on that one. It's
always been the same trailer, but it looks good.
Now, what would you think about the brand new Clint Eastwood movie?
I got mixed opinions on that. Here's the thing. There's a lot of actors in that movie I like. Clint Eastwood, John Goodman. I've liked Amy Adams and what I've seen of her. And people may talk shit on me for saying this. I think Justin Timberlake's a decent actor. I'm not a fan of his music, but I think acting-wise, he was pretty good. I liked him in Black Snake Moan. And he was actually, he surprised me. He was pretty funny. And the Cameron Diaz Teacher movie, what was it? Bad Teacher, yeah. How did I forget that
Teacher
name?
movie? Bad Teacher.
But
what's it called? Trouble with a Curve?
Yeah, I think Trouble with the Curve or Love of the Curve or something like that. And it's a baseball film about like Clint Eastwood's a scouter and his daughter's trying to like, you know, make amends and try and like catch up with him. He never really talked to his daughter after her mother died and sent her off. It looks like, here's the thing. It looks kind of like a standard cheesy feel-good drama, but
since Clint Eastwood's in it.
But since it got Clint Eastwood in it, it's kind of like, I don't know, I kind of want to see it. I mean, Clint Eastwood recently, there's probably about like 4 big heartbreaks in my life. There's 5 when I heard that Clint Eastwood was supporting Mitt Romney. But
no, that really ruined a day. Like I couldn't believe when I first heard that. I had to look it up. That's how like I just couldn't trust that information.
We're not going to go on a political rant, but I'm just going to say this real quick.
I'll go on a political rant. I don't mind.
It makes no sense to me that why he would want to support Mitt Romney because he's for gay rights. He's pro-environment. He's a vegan. So why the fuck is he going to Romney? That makes no logical sense to me.
You know, yeah, because Clint Eastwood's not the kind of guy who's about just money and not caring about other people. He's done so much for everybody in the world. Why would he want to change now?
I'm assuming he's at the point where he's senile. Like, I don't know, whatever.
But Really, the way that Triple Off a Curve looks, if Clint Eastwood was not in it, I could give a rat's ass about going to see that movie. I will say that.
I was glad to see John Goodman's in it. He's probably gonna be a bit
Well,
role
yeah,
because
I
they
mean,
showed him like in one
there's some
part of
other
the
kind of cool
trailer.
people in it, but I mean, just by like that trailer, it's just like Clint Eastwood's really what sells it.
And plus, it's almost kind of like I don't know. I've you don't really see they a part of the trailer. They show him like crying at his dead wife's grave, which is one of the something you don't really see that anymore. The one time I've seen Clint Eastwood cry in a movie was The Outlaw Josie Wales, and you could see since he's such oh man, he's having the hardest time crying. He's like almost hiding his face from the camera when he like buries his wife and son at the very beginning of the movie.
Uh-huh.
He like just puts his face into the cross that he like buried him at, just like just almost like dry heaving with a sad face. Right in that fucking.
Well, it's like even in like the Bridges of Madison County, it's like there's a part where you're supposed to cry, and Clint Eastwood just says like, "No, my fans wouldn't want to see me cry."
Well, even if he did cry, I wouldn't even think less of him. It would be like, fuck, if it made Clint Eastwood cry, it must be sad.
That's gotta be so sad.
Yeah. So there's that movie.
But yeah, that movie, like, I literally probably go and see it just because Clint Eastwood, because we all know Clint Eastwood's hilarious and badass. So.
There's few movies I will see, even like some of the movies I really like, even like actors I really like. I usually won't go see them just because the actor likes it. I gotta like the concept of the movie. But Clint Eastwood's one of those few actors.
Well,
I
I
make
mean,
an exception for.
sadly enough, I mean, we only are gonna have so many more Clint Eastwood movies left, so might as well enjoy as much as we can.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then next there was that Brad Pitt movie.
Killing Him Softly.
Yeah, that looks. Both that movie and the Clint Eastwood movie, I actually read about those movies beforehand, like like about a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago. And I actually got like completely different opinions from both those movies. Like that, like I thought that the Clint Eastwood movie was actually like a drama, and this one's more like the trailer made it out to be like a lighthearted comedy. Now, we won't really know till we watch the movie because we all know trailers sell movies differently.
Mm-hmm.
And now, even with this Clint Eastwood movie, I thought it was a straight up like drama gangster movie, but it looks like
you mean the Brad Pitt
or Brad Pitt movie is this Brad Pitt one actually looks like it's going to be a dark comedy gangster movie, kind of dark comedy action gangster movie. That's a lot of stuff in one, but
I'm really looking forward to that movie. Just the cinematography looked awesome, the set pieces looked awesome from what they showed, just how like just dry and dirty it looked.
Well, I was reading about that one.
The humor in it was pretty funny. The part where they have the guys trying to set the car on fire. They have like she go off like a bonfire, explodes. The fat guy gets kind of partially hit by the car and knocked back.
Well, when I was reading about it in the magazine, the picture just showed was Brad Pitt standing there with a gun and a cigarette and with those sunglasses on. I was like,
that's
well,
an
I'm fucking already there.
Anyway.
Yeah, you already have sold me at that picture.
I figured I'd probably go see it. Yeah, when I just saw that picture, I was like, oh, it's probably pretty good. But when seeing that trailer, I'm like,
the trailer's
pretty
badass.
Awesome.
It's got Ray Liotta in it too, and the guy who plays Tony Soprano. I feel bad for not knowing that guy's name by this point, but
James Gandolfini.
Yeah, there we go. But that one looked really cool. I can't wait for that one. I actually was already stoked for it. I'm really stoked.
Now then there's the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Yeah, which same fucking magazine read about the same movie. And I'm excited. Like Paul Thomas Anderson, he only has, I guess, this will be a 6th movie.
I thought this was about Scientology, but what's it about then?
It's not about Scientology. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I don't know what it's about. But it's too early to be Scientology because Scientology.
Well, it's clearly about religion and like a cult sort of thing.
Well, the thing about all Paul Thomas Anderson movies are always about kind of quirky characters. That's almost how you can define it. Because nobody in the movies are ever like totally normal. And they're mostly always about a group of characters. There's like characters of different personalities. That's kind of how he's
with
made
the
it.
exception of There Will Be Blood, which is really almost a one-man act. Really, I mean, everyone else is there in that movie.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, that one's a little. That one is different, but it still has a very strong characters in it. Like, kind of quirky. They all have their individual kind of things.
Well, when you think about the one guy keeping that movie together was Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Plainview. And they had the priest who was really quirky, really over the top. He wasn't in the movie nearly as much because that movie was almost
was fucking annoying in that movie.
But that guy sold it off pretty good. And I love that part at the end because you're like, I really wish the second you see him, I really wish someone bashes this guy's head in with a bowling pin.
And it fucking happens. That's one of the best endings of a movie.
Yeah,
one of the best endings I can think of.
Because everybody else, not saying that like it was like just solely him, just by himself the whole movie, but it was solely him like writing that movie, keeping it going. Everybody else just kind of working off him really.
Yeah,
because he was the one guy that really stood out because that kid the deaf kid did a good job playing. Mm-hmm. And then there's the priest who stood out. And then there was the father, which the father was just so weak and so like, just so weak. Couldn't help but just dislike him.
No, yeah, that one's definitely his biggest different movie. I guess that makes sense. It's the most different movie there is.
Yeah.
But all those movies always kind of have like Magnolia, just a group of characters.
Boogie
Boogie Nights is a
Nights.
group of characters, and Boogie Nights is like the most amazing movie he ever made. That movie just fucking blows your mind. It is like the extreme 4 out of 4 movie. Like you don't get too much better than this. And
I
all
was
those other
pissed off
movies
because I
are.
bought Boogie Nights for like, it's one of those movies that's so hard to find. I saw it at this pawn shop for like $3, and I was like, oh my god, this is such a rare find. 'Cause it's like the special edition one. Then I get it. It's like it's scratched. Fuck.
Yeah, well, I forgot what I was saying.
My bad. No, you're saying you're talking about Boogie Nights 4 out of 4. It's
Oh,
like
I was saying talking about like his other movies. Is Boogie Nights is one of those movies that's so fucking amazing that you just think that every one of his movies after that are gonna be really amazing. And all those other movies are they're all really good, but they never got to that Boogie Nights good though. That's like Hard Eight, which is a really good movie, but not Boogie Nights.
I never saw
Magnolia was the Tom Cruise is fucking amazing in that movie, but not as good as Boogie Nights once again. And then the Adam Sandler one, Punch Drunk Love. That's a good one too, but still no Boogie Nights. And then There Will Be Blood that's probably my second favorite one out of all his.
Daniel
Daniel Day-Lewis is amazing. Speaking
Yeah.
of Daniel Day-Lewis, his first movie since that movie is coming out, and that's Lincoln. We didn't see a trailer for that, but that's the Steven Spielberg one.
Yeah.
And that's I think it's about the last 4 weeks of Lincoln's life. I think that's what that movie's about.
That should be a pretty good movie.
So that Steven Spielberg, Daniel Day-Lewis playing Abraham Lincoln. Come on,
Yeah.
badass. But what was we saw the Oz trailer for.
Which I got kind of mixed feelings on that. That's one of those movies. If I win like a free movie ticket from my Regal card, I might go see it. But beyond that, I'm not really in a big rush. Sam Raimi's one of those directors I really do like, but more recently, I haven't really cared as much for his work. Drag Me to Hell was really good.
Well, I like Drag Me to Hell, but I really do feel that Sam Raimi is one of those kind of directors that like. I don't feel he's kind of like Tim Burton in a sense. Like he's gotten kind of lost in like the glamour and big budget movies.
Well, it's almost kind of like what you said. It's kind of like you watch Evil Dead. It's amazing, but like you watch all these other movies since Evil Dead.
No, he has
3,
that kind of same thing. It's like where like
It's not Evil Dead good.
I watch Evil Dead 1, 2, and 3, and they're like fucking amazing. And I went out and bought about 3 or 4 other movies. It's like later on after that and checked them out. And like yeah, they're good ones, but they're never were as good as Evil Dead's.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, I just feel that Sam Raimi, like, even though I like Spider-Man 1 and 2, and 3 is okay, it's not bad, but
I'm with you there.
But his movie, he looks like he's kind of going in this kind of direction, like almost like I feel like he's going to be trying to be the next Tim Burton kind of thing, where he's just going to do all these kind of big CG, blah blah blah, who the fuck cares movies.
Well, Drag Me to Hell was actually Drag Me to Hell.
Well, Drag Me to Hell, I think was that one movie. Was like, here you go, fans. You guys kept bitching and moaning. Here you go. Here's one of your movies.
Here's the closest thing we'll get to Evil Dead 4. But that was actually a good movie. I'm surprised it walked away with PG-13. I have no idea how that happened.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, at first I was like, what the fuck, PG-13? Then I went to see it, I'm like, how the fuck did it get PG-13?
And then we got, like, let's see, there's never really a movie by him that I hated or disliked. Everything I've seen by him, I didn't see the movie Crime Wave, but everything I've seen by him, I think I've seen everything but Crime Wave, I like or I love. And love being Evil Dead, and Spider-Man, all the Evil Dead films, and Spider-Man 2, generally. But
Spider-Man 1.
I really like Spider-Man 1. I don't love Spider-Man 1. I really like Spider-Man 1, though. I don't know, just the whole thing with the green, it seems like the biggest nitpick, but Green Goblin's outfit, he looks like a fucking Power Ranger.
Hey, what's wrong with Power Rangers?
Well, it's not, it shouldn't be in Spider-Man, for one. The whole thing with that, no, it's just like, Kevin Smith said this, I'm kind of paraphrasing what he said, but he made one of the best points. He's like, you get the man who's perfect for Green Goblin, the man who can make anything out of his face. And what do? You throw a motorcycle helmet over him.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Plus, it just kind of like I couldn't really take it seriously. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to depict a goblin, but like in like a realistic world. But it was just, I just couldn't really take the whole the whole motorcycle helmet thing seriously. Plus the goofy outfit. But anyway.
Yeah, I get it.
Back on other Sam Raimi though.
I thought about that, but.
Well, I don't know. I just didn't like the way. I think what really should have done. I mean, I know this is going to. If I made the movie, I know it's kind of going to that. But if I did, I probably would have done it in a way where it looked more like he was more dressed up, like not literally how he was in the comics, but more of like trying to make himself look like a real goblin. You know what I mean? Like realistic makeup or whatever.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean like that. Yeah, that could work too. That'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. maybe wearing like some kind of like suit of armor or something underneath the robe, so it's a little bit more like realistic and believable of how you can do all this shit. But anyway,
Whole
back
point of this is that Oz
back
movie.
to yeah,
I mean,
Oz.
like, thing is Wizard of Oz the original movie. I mean, as far as a movie goes, it's very. I mean, that advanced a lot of crap. I mean, people had to sit there and paint each one of those frames. Somebody had that job. But
Wasn't the original like a Warner Brothers movie?
yeah, now it's Disney. I think it was Warner Brothers.
I mean, granted, there's like 20 different Oz books, so I guess whoever buys the rights to the books really.
Yeah,
But
it's one of the ones like it's like don't get me wrong. Like I like the Wizard of Oz the movie. I think it's a fine movie and all, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know there's people out there that have this obsession with Wizard of Oz. It's one of those things that has kind of a strange. It's one of those kind of things, almost like those large cult groups, sort of like if you could say even like Star Trek or Lord of the Rings. There's like those large cult groups that just love these things, and it's just like I don't know. I
well, there's apparently I think
never been the biggest fan.
a girl I dated told me there was like 10 books set in the Wizard of Oz, like this timeline. Then once the guy died, it went onward for like another 10 books by other people. And I don't know if this is like one of those books or if it's just like, let's do our own thing, you know?
I don't know. It's just one of those ones like it's like maybe
I
it's
think it's
Sam
just the
Raimi.
look. I just think it's the look of it because it looks like it's trying to be
Yeah,
too much
Tim.
like Alice in Wonderland.
It even has from the producers of Alice in Wonderland.
Which that's not a seller for me, really.
No, that's a very big turnoff.
It's like when you saw like the trailer to Frankenweenie. It said from the director of Alice in Wonderland. How about the director to Ed Wood? Or
We're not going to use a movie that old that nobody knows about.
I know,
But,
or
like, let's
something good though.
At least
like,
say Sweeney Todd. I mean, that was like the only good thing he's done since like.
or
the only
like,
good thing he's
well,
done since.
everyone
like,
remembers Edward Scissorhands.
Well, yeah, you can say. But I mean,
Or Beetlejuice.
I guess
For
what
the
they're
director
saying
of
is because
Beetlejuice.
those are 25-year-old movies. When you say something from the director from those good, it almost makes it sound like
I
he
just
hasn't
say-
done shit in like 25 years.
Well, it's like if George Lucas was coming out with another movie, it said from the director of Indiana Jones 4. Not director, but like the writer of
Yeah.
Indiana Jones 4, you know? So
Yeah, I guess
or the director of Attack of the Clones instead of, you know.
Yeah, I guess that is true, but I mean, they got to pick something smart, but I think they just got to choose something a little bit better.
I think they're like, you know, kids like Alice in Wonderland. Go with
Yeah,
that.
kids are fucking stupid. They'll pay for it.
That's what Mickey Mouse said. Kids are fucking stupid. I'm not gonna pay for anything. Stupid fucking kids. Bring me a whore.
But what other trailers were there?
There was that one. There was.
I think there was like one.
There's one more. There was. Let's see. There is the Clint Eastwood one. There was
The Paul Thomas Anderson one.
Paul Thomas Anderson. That was called The Master, by the way. Wasn't it called The Master?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. Then there was. I don't think it was anything superhero-ish or nothing like that. Man with the Iron Fist, which you've seen like 30 times.
Yeah, we've seen that one a bunch of times. I guess that was about it. I don't think there was anything else.
Nothing's really striking me.
But Lawless was a pretty sweet movie. I would recommend it. I don't think it's the most amazing movie, but I think it's a cool. Like, I'm a big fan of period piece movies. So that's really, if I have to say something, like period piece movies are really what brings me into a movie. One thing that drives me up the wall more than anything else is when you take a movie that was made for like, say, a time period and you modernize it. That pisses me off more than anything else. So I love to see when they actually just have period pieces.
Yeah, especially since they got the look of it pretty good too. Plus, I haven't really seen a movie so much like a movie this violent that dealt with moonshine like running.
No, they have. I mean, the closest thing you get to it is like Dukes of Hazzard, really, when it gets down to. And Dukes of Hazzard is
1920s
based off
Duke of
of
Hazzard.
stories like that, though. Actually,
Yeah.
that's what they got their basis for in
Mhm.
the '70s.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was cool.
I don't think Bo and Luke ever chopped the dude's balls off though.
Well, I mean, that's in the '70s, but that'd be cool.
I'm
Just
just
see a
joking.
rated R version of Dukes of Hazzard, just like, just full on. It's not funny. It's fucking
Yeah.
serious and dark.
They still have the horn.
Oh yeah, the Dixie.
Yeah. I don't know what the
The
fuck
first
that was. I
5
don't know what the
notes of
fuck.
Dixie.
I don't know what the fuck that is that I just hummed. But yeah, I meant the Dixie.
Clearly, you weren't born in the South.
No, I clearly wasn't.
But yeah, that was a good one, and we'll figure out something next.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, some people at some point we'd like to do a Breaking Bad one. A friend of ours suggested that one.
Oh
so
yeah, somebody recommended that.
At
So-
some point, like a Batman retrospective, just solely on the comics, because you could really do like solely one on the comics, solely one on the cartoons, solely one on just all the movies. So.
No, there's a lot. No, well, you could do that, or you could just do a standard, even retrospective, just everything Batman, just starter one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. Batman's got so much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one I'd like to do is the Sega Genesis overview.
We got a friend we can bring that in on.
Yeah, I got a buddy who would like to come in on that, and that'd be kind of fun.
All right. Well, I guess that's all for this week.
So yeah, we'll end it there. My name's Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan. See you guys later.